Hi, this is Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we're going to be talking the astrology for the beginning of April 2023. Okay. I know March had a whole bunch of stuff going on it, but April has a little bit, but March had major stuff. I guess that's the best way to put it. March had some major changes, planets changing signs, all that kind of stuff. Now we're still kind of dealing with all of that, and we will be dealing with that for a while. So we kind of get into April and we have a lot of shifts at the beginning of the month, and then we kind of slow down at the end of the month, which is kind of, I think, somewhat normal. I think it's kind of weird. But let's talk about all things April 2023 in astrology. So let's start on April 1st. April Fool's Day is going to be kind of a quirky one because our moon is in the sign of Leo and it is trine Jupiter in the sign of Aries. And trines are all about like harmonious or very creative. So our moon in the sign of Leo is going to be really giving it kind of like that pep, that kind of like you can do it attitude, that self-courage, you can do it. And then trining is kind of being really creative with Jupiter in the sign of Aries. Jupiter is our planet of expansion and growth. And Aries is just going to be crazy in all of this. It's going to be like a force of nature, kind of like that courage. So April 1st is going to be kind of like, you're going to see April Fool's jokes all over the place. People saying they're married, they're pregnant, they're all kinds of crazy stuff. And you're going to see it everywhere because of these planets in alignment. It's going to be like, okay, here we go. And it's going to be bringing in some major ideas. So people are going to have some like quirky new ones out there too. You're like, I would have never thought of this one. And it's going to be keeping you in a good mood. It's one of those, as long as you don't take it too seriously, you're going to be in a great mood on April 1st. So it's kind of like, yes, here we go. Let's see, on April 3rd, we have Mercury moving into the sign of Taurus. It will be going into retrograde later on, and we'll be talking about that. And I've got some other videos that will be attaching to all of this. So kind of like, yes, here we go. So that's kind of one of those like interesting ones. But this is going to be a really like a mental one. Literally a mental energy of coming in a little bit slower and kind of like slowing us down as Mercury moves into Taurus. Mercury is our planet of communication, and Taurus is kind of like our easygoing, kind of peaceful, stable energy. So this is going to be like, yes, here we go, slowing down just a little bit to kind of catch our breath. I know the last few weeks have just been like crazy busy for most people. And I will tell you, it's time to make some decisions, kind of getting ready for Mercury going into retrograde in the sign of Taurus. This is going to be a great one for most of us, but it's going to be changing things in some interesting ways. Taurus also usually affects our finances and our how we think about money, and kind of like rethinking our budget. So if you've been thinking about doing that, go ahead and get it done now before it goes into full retrograde. It's going to make it a little bit easier. And know that this is going to be kind of like a retrograde that's not going to be horrible, but like I said, it's going to be slowing us down and really kind of making us rethink our finances. Where are we putting our money at this time is a really big one. Also on April 3rd, we have Mercury in the sign of Taurus squaring off against Jupiter in the sign of Aries. And squares are all about like kind of which one's going to win, how are we going to move between the two, and kind of creating like peaceful energy between the two. So on one side, we have Mercury in the sign of Taurus. Mercury, communication. Taurus, stable and peaceful. Pluto, Lord of the underworld, things that you don't want to, like you want to hide or you want to get rid of or whatever else, in the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius is all that revolutionary, like crazy energy, kind of like, let's do this, let's change it, let's flip on a dime, let's go. So this is going to be kind of like difficult for people to see eye to eye, because you're going to have like the more calm, cool people against the people that are like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to deal with this. Boom, head to head. This is going to be really finding a lot of people like arguing over little things, like ideas or plans. And I will tell you, this is a kind of a great time to kind of really start looking for jobs. I know sounds like, what? Seriously. Because of like Taurus affects our ability, our work, our travel, all that kind of stuff. It's going to, like, in a great kind of like undertone of this is like, this is a great day to kind of start looking for a new job, or trying to do, you know what I'm saying, like changing up your job. Thinking about it now, not doing it during Mercury in retrograde, waiting until afterwards, unless you find something that's just amazing right now, and then jump on it. Let's go. Okay. Next, let's move into April 4th. We have our energy portal, the 4-4 energy portal, which is really calling out to our souls and kind of like the journey that's coming up, kind of like what's going on, and kind of like the destiny of all of this, kind of like where are we going with this? Where is our soul really pulling us into? And I know a lot of people are getting into the kind of like the mundane energy of this, but it's one of those, day-to-day life is not supposed to wear us out that much. It's one of those, like, this is our life purpose. And a lot of times people think that that's your career, and it's very rarely not your career. It's rarely your career in any way, shape, or form. Usually it's something else that is supposed to be your life purpose, and kind of like, yes, I really feel like I'm changing and making, moving forward in this area. Let's go to April 5th. We have Mercury in Taurus sextiling Saturn in the sign of Pisces. And sextiles are all about kind of like that compatibility and kind of working together, and kind of creating possibilities or opportunities on both sides. So Mercury, communication in the sign of Taurus, which is like stable and peaceful energy, and kind of trying to find a balance with Saturn in the sign of Pisces. So Saturn is like our planet of structure, and kind of like how are things, the structure, the infrastructure, all of that kind of like, yes, here we go. And then Pisces is kind of like that flowing energy, and how is our structure going to flow or change or modify over the next little bit. So it's kind of like, where are we going with this? I will say making some long-term plans will be easier to kind of work on the 5th. This is like a great day to kind of like discipline your mental energy, like playing games of kind of like, let's get our mental function up there. Let's do some puzzles or things that are kind of really making us think, watching mystery movies or something like that, kind of like really making our brain really like, let's get it going and work on this. This is also a great day to kind of really think about your goals. And because we just had a day of like, hey, let's start looking at a job, kind of what are your goals in looking for a job? What is that brings into you? Kind of like, where do you want to go with this? That's a really good one for us. Okay. On April 6th, we have a full moon in the sign of Libra. And a Libra energy is all about balanced and harmonious. And the full moon is all about releasing and letting go of. So kind of like, what is it that you want that's not bringing balance to your life? What is not bringing you harmony in your life? We want to kind of let that go. And this full moon is really a great time to focus on our relationships, like that balance in our relationship, the harmony in our relationships, and working on relationship issues, kind of growing closer, kind of like getting that energy even closer. I will say, kind of, if you're not getting closer, maybe it's time to walk away. Not kind of encouraging you to break up or anything, but I'm just like, there are some times that we have relationships that we can really not really work through, and we keep like pushing that energy, like, yes, we're going to work through this, yes, we're going to get through this, and it really doesn't help us. It's kind of like we keep hitting that brick wall. I will tell you that this is a day that a lot of people are going to be really craving, like their peacefulness, their serenity. This is a great time to do a salt tub and kind of release energy. This is a great time to go to the spa and kind of like mani-pedi, kind of take care of yourself, and really kind of like focus in on you and what's bringing you peace, what's bringing you harmony, what's bringing you balance into your life. That's a really great one for today. Next, let's move to April 7th. We have Venus in the sign of Taurus, sextiling Neptune in the sign of Pisces. And a sextiles is kind of like that creative energy that's bringing in opportunities on both sides. So we have Venus in the sign of Taurus, sextiling Neptune in the sign of Pisces. Venus, love, acceptance, and structure, planning. In Taurus, which is all about peaceful and calm and kind of stability. And then that's kind of trying to bring a balance in with Neptune, which is our planet, our dreamy blue planet, that's kind of like that dream world. Where do we want to go? Where do we want to dream into? What's coming up next for us? All of that kind of stuff in the sign of Pisces, which is all about the flow of our dreams. Kind of like, how are we going to flow into all of this? How are things going to kind of like move? And this is also going to be bringing up our intuitive side as well. This is a really soft day. This is going to be an easy day to kind of work through things. Dealing with other people that may be normally really harsh. This is going to be a great day to work with them. This can also bring in more understanding and compassion. If you have that really hard person where you're kind of like, oh, you don't always see eye to eye, this is a great day to have a conversation with them and hopefully bring in some more peaceful energy, some more calmness, and getting a better understanding on both sides. Next, let's move into on April 8th. I was having a hard time saying the 8th. Mercury in the sign of Taurus, sextiling Mars in the sign of Cancer. So here we go. Sextiling is bringing that balance, that harmonious, creative side to both sides. And so let's see. We've got Mercury, communication, in the sign of Taurus, which is all about being peaceful and stable energy. Trying to make a balance with Mars, our planet of aggression, action, being in motion, go, go, go kind of energy in the sign of Cancer. Now, Cancer, since we're the first time we're talking about this on this one, is all about that nurturing abilities, kind of like emotional, that intuitive side coming out again. And it can be a little moody on times. So it's one of those like, how are we going to make a balance between all of this? This is going to take some extra mental energy today, and you can get excited about like new ideas and new plans, kind of really being open to what's about to happen, where are we going with all of this, and this is going to be bringing in a great balanced energy on April 8th. Next, let's move to April 10th. We have our moon in the sign of Sagittarius trining Jupiter in the sign of Aries. And a trine is bringing that creative flow between the two. Our moon is about our emotions. It's going to be bringing that emotional energy to us, kind of like what's coming in. And I will tell you, Sagittarius is a very friendly, very open, usually open-minded, kind of like changing their energy quite often. So our emotions may be changing, kind of like flipping on a dime. We may feel like we need to get out there in some way and kind of do a little exploring and kind of like, what do we think about it? Now that we've gotten everybody else's opinion, now to what do we want to do with it? And this can really head you on your own path. This can bring in some new experiences and hopefully some new knowledge as well, and kind of like moving into a much easier energy. But this is going to kind of give you that surge of like energy, like here we go, focusing on expanding into new areas, kind of pushing that new experience idea is really going to be big and kind of really make us focus in on things. So let's move to April 11th. We have Venus in the sign of Gemini. Venus is our love planet, our plan ahead planet, our mental kind of like being in structure, kind of fixing things, that sort of thing, in the sign of Gemini, which is all about communication. So we're going to be wanting to communicate. So kind of Venus brings in the mental side, and then Gemini brings in that communication side. So this is going to be mentally connecting our what we love to things that are important to us. Venus in the sign of Gemini can be really a great way to communicate with other people. It's a great way to kind of communicate with the people you love and care about, and kind of like getting on the same page with them. You may even feel closer and more open to your thoughts and ideas and flowing in conversations with people. So people are going to be like, yes, here we go. Also, on April 11th, we have a lot of stuff going on April 11th. We have Venus in the sign of Gemini. It just entered that thing and that sign, and now it's trining Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. So trining is all about that creative blend between the two. So we have Venus in Gemini. So we have our love and our connection in the sign of communication. And then we have Pluto, the Lord of the underworld, kind of things that we don't want to bring up, things that we kind of want to leave behind, but may require rebirthing in the sign of Aquarius, which is all about revolutionary or changing or modifying energy. Our passions are going to be on all-time high. In your relationships, feeling like more dedicated, let's work on things, being loyal to people that you care about. This can also work to transform the connections around you, which can make you feel better about what's going on, our life around us, how things change, how things modify. So just know that these are a lot of changes that are coming in for this time frame. Our next one, also for April 11th, we have our sun in the sign of Aries conjunct Jupiter in the sign of Aries. And a conjunction is all about two planets that are trying to blend or unite. Doesn't mean they always do it, just means that they're trying to blend or unite their energies together. So we have our sun, which is our ego, in the sign of Aries, which is that forceful, courageous, kind of impulsive energy on one side. And then we have that kind of blending, trying to blend and unite in Jupiter in the sign of Aries. Now, Jupiter is our planet of expansion and growth. And Aries is all about kind of like that courageous, purposeful energy, kind of changing these out. This is going to be an experience to kind of like, what do we want to do in our life? Kind of keeping an eye on something very specific, like what do you want to really focus in on for the next little bit? What do you want to explore? Keeping your mind open, your heart open, and really kind of like a healthy dose of kind of like, what can I really accomplish during this time frame? Giving yourself some long-term goals are going to be really great that day, of kind of like, where do I want to be in the future? Where do I want to be in 6 months or a year or 5 years down the road? This is bringing in a lot of amazing energy for us. Finally, we get to move to April 12th. Yay! April 12th. We have our moon in the sign of Capricorn, trining Saturn in the sign of Aquarius, in the sign of Taurus. So we have our moon in Capricorn trine Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And trines are all about like that harmonious flow between the two. So we have our moon in the sign of Capricorn. So our moon is our emotional kind of energy. In the sign of Capricorn, about being peaceful and ambitious and practical, kind of like, here we go. And that's going to be trining, kind of like trying to find that balance between Uranus, which is our kind of, I call them our hippy dippy planet, kind of like change on a dime. Let's modify, like anything that doesn't work, like boom, let's just change it out. Let's just go, 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 go. And the sign of Taurus, which is very stable and peaceful. So already that's going to be a little bit of a, how do we do this? This is going to be a very like changing, modifying day. This is not going to be like, here's the same day all day. Depending on where you at, what planets are going on at that very moment in time, and who you're around, and kind of like what are their planets. This is going to be a great time to be very innovative, kind of thinking way outside the box when you have to solve a problem. Like, I'm so far outside the box I can't even see the box. That's the day to fix those things. Let yourself in, kind of find some peacefulness and seeing something that works really good for you. It's one of those, if you've been kind of vegging on like movies and that sort of thing, try something different. Try to like, let's move this energy out in a little bit different way than we have in the past. So this is going to be like, yes, here we go. Next on April 13th. So we have our last quarter moon in the sign of Capricorn. So our last quarter moon is kind of letting go of old responsibilities that are no longer good for us or working for us. This is a great time to focus in on like the next few weeks or so, kind of like what's coming up next, and finding time to kind of let go of old restrictions. Kind of like, how have you been like holding yourself in? How have you been not letting yourself have fun, letting yourself move forward in energy? This is going to be a good one. Let's see. We also have on, April 14th, we have Venus in the sign of Gemini squaring off against Saturn in the sign of Pisces. And squares are all about kind of like the internal war, like pushing and pulling each other. How are we going to figure this one out? Venus our planet of love and attraction and stability. In the sign of Gemini, which is all about communication, squaring off or trying to find that balance or kind of pushing each other's energy together. Saturn in Pisces. So Saturn is our structure, our infrastructure. How do we change things? In the sign of Pisces is about flowing or changing that structure and infrastructure. Responsibilities in relationships may feel like just overwhelming to us right now, and we might be like, run and hide, run and hide. This is a great day to kind of like take a step back if you can, kind of like really relax. And I guess I have a friend in mind that has like 3 little ones, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, 3 little kids. And she's like, oh my gosh, at some days this is the day that you would want to call in a babysitter and have some help in the house. Call a mother-in-law or father-in-law to come and give you a hand. This is the day that you don't want to get too overwhelmed, because you're just going to be like, I feel stuck. I feel like I don't get to do anything. So that's kind of one of those like, let's calm down. I will be doing my angel cards next, but I want to really kind of give you a heads up. Really, on April 20th, we have an eclipse coming, and it's going to be a big one. It doesn't mean it's going to be really crazy, hairy, or whatever else. It just means that it's coming in, and just know that that's making some changes for you, that you're ready to make some changes in that area. So get ready for the changes with our new eclipse energy coming in a few days. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.